Just got finished with episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. And I'll just give you sort of my feedback impressions about how I feel about this movie. I mean, it was a good follow up to New Hope because you get to see that there's been a couple of years between A New Hope and this movie, so you get to see how the characters have grown since then. I mean, there's especially like the main three, Luke, Leia, and Han. They're all still strong. They're all still capable. I mean, you get to see each of them in a position of leadership and interacting with one another, where like you said, they genuinely care about each other, as opposed to just like, hey, we got thrown into this situation by accident and we have to figure out a solution. Like, you actually see them being functioning as a team more, which is it's good to see how that dynamic. Leia, she's still strong and capable, and you get to see her you do get to see some of her being, you know, in the fray, taking down stormtroopers and all, and you see her being concerned about friends, the people she's leading. So you get to see her as sort of multifaceted. And then Han, of course, is changed and grown. He's actually like does care about someone other than himself and Chewie, which is good to see. And the moment on Hoth when Luke and Han are saying goodbye to each other before they go off in their separate directions. It's an actual moment of it's like they actually get to see them like, hey, we have this. You have to see a camaraderie, and there weren't any really words with that scene, but it's just kind of quiet and handled really well. And then with Luke, you get to see him actually commanding and leading, and in a fight, actually seeing like, he's earned like, respect for being a good warrior, a good leader, good pilot. And then I mean, he does have a few moments on a Dagobah with Yoda where he's whiny, and I mean, especially before he realizes Yoda is actually Yoda. But I feel like that's justifiable whining because he's frustrated. He's frustrated. He's in this like not great planet, and he's just trying to get to where he's told to go, and he's being sort of held back at by this little green alien dude. And so I feel like it's a justifiable annoyance and whining. And he does whine a little bit through his training, but he kind of recognizes, you see him recognizing, where he's falling short. Which if you're gonna compare Anakin's training in the prequel trilogy and Luke's training in the original trilogy, I'm gonna say Luke's gonna come out on top, because with Anakin, like, you never really see him learning too much from, like, you see a lot of him whining and not enough like recognizing his faults. He spends a lot of time like whining and complaining about how he's being held back and doesn't really recognize it. And you know even in Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, like, you never see him actually like leading people and commanding people. You never see him in a position where you understand why he's this great warrior or why he would be this great leader. You just kind of are told, but you never really see that. I mean, you see Obi-Wan leading, and you see Yoda leading, but you see Padme leading, but you never really see Anakin lead people and where he might earn respect. But like, whereas especially in Empire Strikes Back, you see Luke leading, and you see how he's grown since the end of A New Hope, where like he's become a commander and has people who like him and respect him. So you kind of get that's a bit why I feel why Luke would be stronger. And I was meaning to say this earlier, but the prequel trilogy was actually really detrimental to the whole Darth Vader image, because in the original trilogy, Darth Vader is this big imposing guy who takes no one's crap. I mean, he goes through like what, 3, 4, 5 admirals space of a 2-hour film. Just like force jokes and be like, hey, no, goodbye. You're done. You disappointed me. Goodbye. Which, you know, that's kind of badass. And but like, and then the prequel trilogy happened, and well, he winds his way through the prequel trilogy, and I'm like, ugh, annoying. Every time you open your mouth, I want to smack you. Ah, and so I'm like, I took, you know, when, so now that I'm watching the original trilogy, I'm sitting there going, you know, yeah, how they portrayed Anakin in the prequel trilogy took away from this imposing, awesome, scary guy. So you know, okay, I'm not gonna harp on the portrayal of Anakin much more because, well, I have to get off that high horse for now. Anyway, so what was I gonna say? Anything other than I mean, oh, and you know, you get to see the. Okay, let's talk about plot. Plot-wise, this film, I mean, it takes up like what, a couple of years after I think I remember reading something that's like 3 years after A New Hope. So clearly the characters have grown, and you know the Resistance Rebel Alliance has been striking out against the Empire. So and they do make reference to past engagements and past events, and you know you get to see a little bit more of the infrastructure of the of the Rebel Alliance, which is good. But you know, you see in the beginning, you know, it's sort of a short-term problem trying to find Luke, and then you know, long-term, more a little bit. You get the big problem within the first 20 or 30 minutes of having to evacuate the planet, and then you know that you can see how by accident, by characters, driven natures, like how things happen and how they're logically led to Cloud City, and then having to get out of Cloud City, and sets up a problem that they have to solve in Return of the Jedi, as well as in Luke's subplot where you clearly see he has a reason to go to Dagobah. It's not just he has a reason to go to Dagobah, and then he has a reason to leave Dagobah because of concern for his friends, as any sane human would be. So you know, I mean, and the strength was, I feel like the strength of, you know, having two separate plot lines going on at the same time is that, you know, it's unlike with the prequel trilogy. I mean, you have the two main plots where it's Luke on Dagobah with Yoda, and then Han, Leia, 3PO, Chewie going to Cloud City and meeting Lando, and then Vader there laying the trap. I mean, you can see you know, why each character goes off and does each of them go off and do their things, and you can sort of see how they're drawn back together at the end. So I mean, and unlike with the prequel trilogy where there was too much going on, that you kind of feel gypped, you know, when you only get maybe like this much time focusing on a plot that you know could have been more important, that I felt could have been more important, something that could have been more, that was important but only got this much time, or something that was less important but I got like this much time, i.e. in Attack of the Clones, they gave like this much time to Obi-Wan, and he was actually like furthering the plot, but they gave this much time or more to Padme and Anakin, and their plot didn't necessarily further the whole story. Anyway, I'm digressing. Anyway, you can see how they gave sort of like equal time to the importance of each of the two plot lines, and you understand why both are important, and how each one how they're related and interconnected. So I thought that was, good writing. And, of course I said it sets up for the last film. So now that I've finished my commentary, it is 9 o'clock, and I am about to start on Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, Last One. Leave all comments down below, and I will see you on the other side of the last film with my last commentary. So, toodles.